Regular session, Nogales Housing Authority Board of Commissioners meeting, 3 p.m. Wednesday, June 10th, 2020, City Hall Complex. I call this meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir. I pledge allegiance
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Commission. Number 3, Director's Report and Financial Report.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
If I keep the mask on, can everyone still hear me? Is that okay? Okay,
Yeah,
I'll keep this mask on. That's okay with everyone here. So to begin, I wanted to detail, there was 3 questions from the last meeting. I answered 2 of those in the May monthly report, but I want to do it here just in case there's any follow-up questions from the commissioners as well. So the first question was from Commissioner Verona regarding the status as a 501c3 nonprofit. I looked into that. Legally, as a legal entity, we are not a nonprofit, 501c3, or other kind of designation. But HUD has given me kind of a guidance to operate both operationally and financially as a nonprofit. So while not legally a nonprofit, we do have some operational flexibility with that. So that's kind of what I wanted to stress there, is that operationally and financially we can kind of operate within a nonprofit type of world. And then the second question was from Commissioner Melendez-Lopez regarding the history and status of the 4 offline units. So 2 of those units have been offline since August and October of 2019 for modernization, and the other 2 have been offline since April and May for the UPA's modernization processes. And just as a kind of a reminder for us all, anytime a unit goes offline or is extended to go offline, we first have to request HUD's approval first. And so these units have been approved by HUD to be offline, and for that duration. If you always seek that approval first, we are not able to place something offline without HUD first approving that. And then we work through Herb Chong from HUD to get that done. And then the last, go ahead.
Why is it taking so long? Since August 2019, it's been offline. So over 6 months now.
Part of that was difficulty in getting those bids, and then as well as getting the contractors to sign. And with the COVID situation, we were delayed a couple months in getting that done. So that was part of the reason for that being offline for an extended period of time. And then the last item was from Commissioner Diaz regarding the training opportunities for commissioners. So I think we should all be aware of the Lead the Way training if we're not already. I completed that when I first got here to Nogales Housing Authority, and there's also additional trainings on that website as well. Obviously, right now there's not a whole lot of in-person trainings occurring in the region or anywhere in the Valley or the greater U.S. area. So when those opportunities become available, I will be sure to let this board know about those opportunities. But for now, I think online and webinar-based training is what's going to have to move forward with the time of social distancing. And then moving on to the financial area. The previous meeting I detailed the rents received and the difference between what we received that month in 2020 compared to 2019. In May 2020, we received approximately $85,000 less than what we received in May 2019. A pretty significant gap. To put it into budget dollars, we projected a budget based on a $233 per unit monthly cost. Based on May alone, that would have dropped down to a $212 per unit monthly income there.
$85,000 or $8,500?
$8,500 is the correct term. Yes, Dr. Brown. So as a measure to kind of help do what we can, I directed to all staff to any kind of purchase, no matter how insignificant it might be, has to come to me first before purchase, not after purchase. That way I can sign off on every single line item to make sure that it's really something that needs to be purchased, just to kind of make sure that while we're navigating through these uncertain times we're doing our part here.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, go ahead.
Chairman. Is this drop in rent revenue because of people are not paying because of coronavirus situation, or is it?
I believe so, yes.
And then the other ones must be because you said there's 16 vacancies, right? So you're not receiving money from those.
Yes, yes. So, and the vacancy thing, thank you for bringing it up to, Commissioner. With the vacancy, so right, HUD recommends that our occupancy rate for public housing, speaking specifically with regards to public housing, they recommend that occupancy rate to be at 98%. As of May 31st, when I put this together and pulled those numbers, we were at 92%, which is due to the 16 vacancies. So during the month of May, I would ask the staff to detail what we've been doing is to see from the time a person drops off the application all the way until we move them in, if there's anything we could be doing differently, anything we should target and focus on. And so
How many applicants do we have on public housing?
in the month of May, we had 5 public housing applicants.
Is that on the waiting list?
That's people added to the waiting list, yes.
So how many total in the waiting list?
Total in the waiting list, I don't have that number right in front of me, but I can find that out though.
Should be like maybe over 100 at least.
I'll find the exact number for you though, sir. So in the month of May, we conducted 12 interviews. We scheduled 12 interviews. We conducted 10 interviews. 5 applicants did not qualify or declined to show up for their interview. And then we had 1 move-in and 1 declined to move in with that process. And then for the Housing Choice Voucher Program, or the Section 8 program, again, HUD recommends that to be at 98%, and we are currently, the voucher use rate is at 91%. During the month of May, we scheduled 18 interviews, conducted 7. 11 of those 18 interviews were scheduled in May, but are going to occur in the month of June. We issued 4 new vouchers and had 1 applicant refuse to accept the voucher. On the next page of the director's report, I put 2 graphs in there to kind of showcase what we're looking at here. And the first is the amount of public housing applications. And you can see in the month of April that dipped down quite significantly. I'm hopeful that May we're back on a trajectory to get back to a more robust number of applications. And then if you look at the public housing applications by date received, between March 31st and March 31st and April 21st, we received just 2 applications. That's nearly 30 days without getting a single application in. I think that's most likely due to the COVID situation, and so we're looking at if there's other ways that we can make it easier. I've instructed staff to give phone calls for individuals who might not be comfortable coming into the office, to do a lot of the interview over the phone, or to follow up that way, to go to their, if it's possible, to go to their residence and drop it off in a Ziploc bag and wait outside the door. Just whatever we can do to make that process a little easier and a little less intimidating for applicants to public housing. That way we can address these occupancy rates and the low voucher use rates. I've had conversations with HUD about this specifically, and again, they just encourage me, as much as you can, document the efforts that you're taking, and look for areas, any specific areas that you can improve on, to look for those specific areas to improve on.
Do we still have, what is it, 152 vouchers?
I believe that number is 172 right now.
172?
Yes.
And how many are you paying?
Right now, so the voucher use rate is at 91%. I can calculate that for you real quick here, sir.
I had conversations with HUD about this specifically.
I think we were looking at 91% of 172, looking at 156.5 or 157 vouchers that are currently in use.
So there's like 16
So
vouchers.
yeah, a lot of vouchers need to be issued and need to be used. And that's why I'm encouraging staff to increase the amount of interviews that we're able to do, and do everything we can to, even if the individual doesn't come into the Nogales Housing Authority for the interview, that we can do everything we can to accommodate them during these times. And then lastly, with regard to projects, the UPS modernization project continues to progress. One unit is nearly completed. I went there last week and saw the new tile that was in. They were going to put the countertops in. We got refrigerators and stoves for those 2 units. So, and then work on the second unit has begun. They turned out really, really well. In fact, what we're thinking of doing too is when the unit is completely finished, that first unit, inviting this board to come out there and take a look at it. That way you can see the efforts that this board put into that unit, and you can see the work that this board was responsible for generating for the residents of the Nogales Housing Authority. And then last week, the contractor and I signed paperwork to begin the modernization and the roofing projects. And we are both eager to begin those projects, especially before the monsoon season begins with the roofing projects. So eager to begin those projects. Are there any questions, Commissioners?
No, you had a question right now?
Yeah, basically pertaining the nonprofit and, that they allowed you the guidance to operate as a nonprofit. Does it benefit us or how, is it good for us to work as a nonprofit or not?
Mitch, I think anytime you have
It's
more...
got plus and minus.
Yes, I think anytime you have operational flexibility, I think it's beneficial. There's no requirement that says that we have to operate as a nonprofit, just that we can. And in times like we're in now, where we're receiving a significantly less rent than what we normally would receive and we project to receive, being able to operate as a nonprofit is very helpful during these times where we don't have to balance the budget this year, and then we can work and do what we need to do, either pull things from capital funds like HUD has allowed us to do, or whatever we need to do to make sure that we can keep the lights on at Nogales Housing Authority.
You should be able to also monitor more grants and stuff like that as a nonprofit. Right?
Correct.
My other question is, on the applicants that refused the acceptance,
Yes.
what's the reason? Do you have any idea why they refused the vouchers after being approved?
I've seen lots of different reasons for refusal to take a unit. Everything from they didn't like the fact that the washer and dryer was not in the unit, or maybe it just wasn't a good fit for what they envisioned for their family. And we let the applicants know that when they refuse a voucher or refuse a public house here, that removes them from the waiting list, and they have to reapply for it. So we make that pretty expressly clear that if they refuse this, they were removed from. It's hard to get back on, especially for Section 8 individuals.
Yeah.
It's a lot hard to get back on since Section 8 is closed right now.
Now, when you show them, a specific house, do you pick the house, or let's say you have 16 vacancy right now for you?
So it depends on the family size and depends on the accommodation of the family size. So there's HUD guidelines. HUD does not want us to overhouse or underhouse individuals based on family size, and so we take them to units that are appropriate for their family size.
But they got a choice of maybe 2 or 3 different things.
Yes, and then with the Section 8 voucher program too, we issue the voucher, and then they will go and find the unit and find the house for themselves. And so in this case, where the individual refused the voucher, they declined to accept the voucher, which means that they didn't even get a chance to go look at any houses at all.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Any other questions at all, Commissioners?
Go ahead.
I don't know if this is a proper question, but are you having any problems with people getting sick from the coronavirus at the housing authority?
We've had a number of reports of it. I can't confirm the truth of those reports at all, but when we do have reports of a household member or anyone in a household reporting COVID-19, I've instructed maintenance staff for any work order that happens with that unit, it first comes to me, and then I determine whether or not we need to risk our maintenance staff going in there or not, and then we isolate that general area and any adjacent units and let maintenance staff know. That way, if they're not comfortable going in, we leave that to their discretion. That way they don't jeopardize themselves or their family.
Good job.
That's all I have, Commissioners. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Director. Number 4, housing resolutions. Number 1, consideration and possible action on housing resolution 2020-06-09, a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the Housing Authority of the City of Nogales authorizing the housing director to make and present any necessary updates and changes that are recommended by HUD or NHA's admission and continued occupancy policy and administrative plan for the purpose of bringing these documents up to compliance.
So moved, Mayor. Second.
Discussion.
Dr. Verona, or Commissioner Verona, my previous predecessor in 2018 was given direction to make sure that our policies are updated and follow what HUD has asked housing authorities to do. So what I wanted to be able to do is take the language from that resolution and broadly apply it to not just, it named specifically my predecessor, and I think this is important for any housing director to make the changes as HUD requires it. And then also I added in there the last be it resolved to direct the housing authority director to bring those required changes to the Board of Commissioners before enactment. That way there's no surprises, that way there's nothing happening behind the scenes, and everyone is aware of what HUD is required of the housing authorities as HUD adopts their policies. And that way there's no, if there's any comment, any review, any concerns by this board, we can bring that up to HUD and let them know if there's anything, if we need to address those specific mandated policies changes by HUD.
What would be an example of
An example of that, so right now they will frequently go through and amend their policies and what they require. So a lot of it is simply language in terms of, I think one of the ones I saw the other day was regards to discrimination, and they added language to, I think it was to clarify gender. I think the term gender instead of sex was used, or something. Some of those specific wordsmith types of things. And this is just to make sure that Nogales Housing Authority is right in lockstep with HUD. Martez let me know in previous times there's been difficulty of not having our policies up to what HUD would like to see as far as their requirements. So I want to make sure that this was done, and then also, instead of just simply putting my name in there, I want to make it broad. That way anyone, myself, or anyone that comes after me is directed to make the mandated policy changes that HUD requires.
Are you going to be putting changing the NHA may operate as a nonprofit in terms of its financial policy?
Only if HUD requires it. If HUD requires that we do that, I will put it in there. But only if they require us to operate as a nonprofit. And from my understanding, HUD does not require us to operate as a nonprofit.
Is that it? No further discussion?
Mr. Mayor, just
Yes, go ahead.
clarification. When you read it, recommended by HUD, you said or NHA, and it should be two.
Oh, I said 2, okay,
No,
between,
you
okay.
said or.
Or?
And
Okay.
it should be two. Just
Correction.
clarification.
Okay. Maybe I should wear my glasses more often? I thought I had them on.
It's a mask.
Just,
Is that what you heard too, John?
Yes, sir.
Okay. See, now I know it's for real.
oh,
Oh, no, just joking, just joking. Okay, so all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? You guys have it, thank you very much. Number 2, consideration and possible action of Housing Resolution 2020-06-10, a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the Housing Authority of the City of Nogales approving and adding a new signature John E. Kissinger to bank accounts of the Nogales Housing Authority at the J.P. Morgan Chase Bank, Wells Fargo, and Bank of America.
So moved, Mayor.
Second.
Discussion. Did we discuss the Bank of America issue?
Yes.
And we said was that going to be removed or not?
Chairman, we looked into that, and that's something we're going to look further into. In fact, I did a deep dive on all of our accounts to see, and we need to reposition some things around to
Okay.
make sure that we get a better interest rate on our accounts. One of our certificates of deposit has an interest rate below 1%, which for a CD is to me, it's not acceptable. So we are looking at that. We have our auditors coming in soon, and so we are going to bring the topic of how do we move things around, or even HUD has recommended us consolidating maybe into one or two banks. And so we're going to talk with our auditors about the best way of going about doing that, and we're going to bring up the topic specifically of Bank of America as well when we get there. That way we can do it in one swoop, so to speak. That way we get that done. But there is an issue though of I believe we need to make sure that our accounts have better generate interest than what they currently do. And I think we need to get that done.
Go ahead, Commissioner Varela.
Well, the interest rate is going to be difficult right now because we're in a recession and the Federal Reserve wants to lower it below zero. We're going to have a difficult time with it right now. But my idea was on the Bank of America. Everybody's done deep dives on this, and Bank of America is here. They pulled out of Nogales. So you need to pull out of Bank of America and patronize the banks that stay here. That can't be that difficult. That should have been done.
So what I'm looking at as far as where we bank at, I'm making looking at banking decisions based on what's in the financial best interest of the Nogales Housing Authority. So
And I'm
whatever.
looking into the interest of what's in the best interest of the city.
Yes. So we're gonna choose a financial institution that best gives Nogales Housing Authority the financial leverage and financial strength that it needs to operate. Whether the location of the bank is not as impactful as the financial stability of the bank and making sure we have a good, robust interest rate there.
With all due respect, I don't agree with you because I want to do business with people who cared about our community and didn't pull out of it. That's why I want to do business. I don't want to put in, there was a lot of hundreds, not thousands of people that didn't have an account or had to travel to Green Valley to deposit their money. So I don't know what else I can do to make my point. I tried to make it to you. I tried to make it to the previous director and the previous director to that. And they all said the same thing. I did a deep dive and we're still doing business with banks. The interest rates are not going to change between banks substantially unless you go to some kind of credit union or something like that. Maybe with a credit union you might get a higher interest rate. I don't think we should do business with people that pulled out of our business.
Chairman Lopez?
Yes, I think Commissioner Barona's right. You can go ahead and pull out that money out of Bank of America and just consolidate with the Bank One or Wells Fargo. The reason we had the money split around in town was because of the FDIC issue, that the bank will only insure a certain amount of money. That's why we split the money, but now it's not an issue. You can go ahead and just pull out that money out of that bank account and put it in one of either Chase or Wells Fargo.
That history is beneficial. And we're looking at too of the accessibility of being able to access our banking systems as well too. So having a local bank will be helpful for that accessibility, but I want to protect the Nogales Housing Authority from simply making a decision about banking due to any type of previous actions by that bank, unless those actions involved any kind of wrongdoing or any kind of financial mispractice. I think we have the operational ability to bank based on what's best for the city, what's best for the Nogales Housing Authority, and to choose it based upon interest rates, based upon accessibility as well too. And both factors will be weighed.
Well, I think the previous director was thinking of pulling out money, I think out from Wells Fargo, I think it was, he said, and using it for the housing authority as you know, combining with finance or money in the housing authority. He never brought it up to the board, but he mentioned it to me one time. So I told him he had to talk to Hud about that before that we can do that.
Yes.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mayor. Would you please address this issue in your July report, the record report?
Yes, absolutely. July or the June one, Commissioner? July?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is June right now,
Yes.
so
July. Okay.
That should give you plenty of time to resolve the issue.
Okay. Yes, sir.
One last question. Did Mr. Kissinger approve of giving him the signature?
Yes, I did speak with Mr. Kissinger regarding this. This resolution is similar to the one that we did last week, our last commissioners meeting, and it's to replace Jeanette when she was previously the approving authority, and it's to replace her with John. That way, we have a city official as the approving authority for our check signing.
Go for the question.
Yes, okay. Anything further? All right, board. Yeah, so Mr. Hansen say something?
Sí, la otra sí voto.
Oh, but no, that's all right. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. 5. He said aye.
That sounded more awake when he was on the phone
I noticed that. Yeah. You would think we would hear some snoring. Okay. Mr. Hansen, did you hear that?
Yes, I did.
He says you're a good man and you're always on top of things.
Yes, I heard it.
All right, thank you, sir.
Only has nice to say about everyone.
Number 5, future agenda items. Yes, go ahead, Commissioner.
If we could have the number of vacancies for the public health, I mean, not the vacancy, the waiting list, the number of people on the waiting list for public housing, and the number of people on the waiting list for Section 8.
Oh. Getting all excited with the candies. Okay, guys, so anything else? Future agenda items? No? I'm proud of you guys. You know why? It's because this is a commissioners meeting. If it was a council meeting, no, we'd be here till tomorrow.
That's a different ballgame.
It is, okay. So, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
Second.
He's awake.
Did you see that? So, jumped at it right away. All in favor, signify by saying aye. This meeting's adjourned.
Mr. Mayor, before you all leave, just a quick announcement. I sent everybody a text message, but in case you didn't get your text messages, our budget hearing scheduled for June 23rd at 10 a.m. That'll be a Tuesday. We'll ask the mayor not to adjourn that meeting in case it goes past a reasonable hours, so we can go again on the 24th and the 25th if needed. And the tentative budget is scheduled to be in front of you all at 10 a.m. on June 30th. That is also a Tuesday.
10 a.m.
We're gonna have lunch and bring your sleeping bags.
No, he said to bring lunch too.
Letty's gonna bring
Commissioner,
us
can
a
I see
healthy
you,
lunch.
can I see you in my office?
Peanuts